So let's talk a little bit about George Patterson. What's his history? What's happened in his ministry, and why would we want to have George Patterson come and share with us practical outreach and discipleship?
Well, George Patterson has an interesting history. He was saved in a holiness context of sorts, and that hasn't been the primary locus of his ministry throughout his life, but nonetheless he has a warm disposition toward holiness people. And God called George to Honduras, as I understand it. Mm-hmm. He was there in the 50s teaching in a Bible college when his missionary overseer said, "George, your preacher boys aren't cutting it. I'm kicking you out of the school, putting you on a saddle. Go out and start churches." And so George thought, well, what do? I guess the best thing I can do is try to follow the Matthew 10 and Luke 10 pattern that Jesus set up. And as he endeavored to find adult men in Honduran villages who are not saved but receptive to hearing the gospel and using their house as a location for sharing the gospel, he began to see a rapid multiplication of disciples who were winning their immediate family and friends to the Lord, who then turned around and were leading their family and friends to the Lord. And over the next number of years, it actually became a church planting movement, as I understand, within the context of Honduras, so much so that George had to establish not just local but regional and ultimately national leadership teams to oversee the growth of the gospel there. And so that was his personal experience. Then out of that experience, he developed discipleship, evangelistic, leadership materials, which he then turned around and shared with others. And he's been training church planting missionaries really over the last 30, 40 years, and seeing this movement start in India, Southeast Asia. And I remember receiving one email report from him around 2010. There was a fellow who had recently baptized in the last 2.5 years 10,000 or 500 people, and really seeing marvelous movings of God in evangelism and church planting. So George brings a wealth of personal experience, academic experience. He's taught in seminary for many years. But if there's anything that's true about George, is he's passionate about seeing these principles hit the street and be implemented. He doesn't just want to sit around and talk theory.
Right.